All right, so you've sent us some really fascinating stuff,
Yeah.
mainly excerpts from a Vietnamese language book. It's called Những, tháng, ngày,
Okay.
and then also some photos kind of sprinkled in.
Interesting.
And clearly, you're really interested in this post-1975 Vietnamese experience, kind of both within Vietnam and abroad, particularly in Japan.
Sure.
So we've got a lot to unpack here, right?
We do.
Oh, so
It's a rich set of material that touches on so many different
yeah,
aspects of history, culture, personal experience.
exactly. So our mission today is to really deep dive into these pieces, unearth the emotions, the historical context,
Yeah.
the cultural insights that are kind of woven into these pieces. So get ready for some gripping personal stories, observations about life in both Vietnam and Japan. What do you think? Where should we start?
Well, the escape from Vietnam, as recounted in the book, is just harrowing.
Absolutely. So let's start there. The author recounts this desperate journey.
Right.
3 days crammed into this tiny boat, hoping to reach Hong Kong, but fearing they'd be lost at sea forever.
It's a recurring image, isn't it, that you see so often in refugee stories?
Absolutely. And what strikes me is how the author emphasizes prayer during those moments of like just sheer terror.
Yeah.
It's like where else?
Oh, where else do you turn?
Right. Exactly.
But to faith, to hope
right.
in those moments.
It's that clinging to something, anything that might offer some solace, some hope. And then comes this moment of almost unexpected grace.
Yes.
A Japanese fishing vessel appears, pulls them from the brink of death, essentially. Yeah. And the author describes it as a rebirth, but it's tinged with this bittersweet reality of leaving their homeland behind.
It's a powerful image, and I think one that captures those complex emotions of escape and displacement, leaving everything behind for an uncertain future.
It's that feeling that, you're moving towards something better.
Right.
But at the same time, what you're leaving behind is so profound.
Yeah. That loss is palpable.
Absolutely. And the source material also dives into life within Vietnam after the fall of Saigon in 1975. And the author paints this picture of suspicion and fear, noting how returning refugees like themselves kind of disrupted this new communist order.
Right. I mean, you have to imagine that the shift in power dynamics was just palpable. Trust within communities.
Yeah.
Fracture replaced with this atmosphere of uncertainty, and
right. It's like
everyone's like walking on eggshells.
Yeah. And the author, a student at the time, recounts the struggles of adapting to this new reality. I mean, imagine schools being under the control of Communist Party cadres.
Yeah.
Constant pressure to conform. I mean, it's a whole different world.
It raises a question too. How do you maintain your sense of self amidst such a drastic shift in ideology?
Yeah.
The author hints at that, feeling caught between what they believe and what the regime is. It's kind of demanding of them.
Yeah, it's almost like you're being forced to betray yourself in a way. And this internal conflict really resonates with the stories of Vietnamese refugees in Japan as well. The author describes the challenges they faced, learning a new language, navigating a different culture, this constant, I think, struggle with feeling, displaced.
I mean, building a life from scratch in a foreign land is never easy. And I think what's remarkable is how these refugees actively form Vietnamese communities.
Yeah.
They create these spaces where they can hold on to their...
Yeah, and share those experiences and support each other. Exactly. And the author seems really deeply involved in these communities, working to keep traditions alive, provide that sense of belonging.
I think it's a testament to the power of community, right?
Yeah.
In preserving identity, offering support during times of change.
Yeah, it's about creating that space where those shared experiences are understood, where the heritage is valued and the journey of adaptation feels less isolating.
Right.
And speaking of cultural observations, the author has some really intriguing reflections on Japanese society itself. They point out Japan's declining birth rate, leading to it's startling a number of abandoned houses across the country.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is how the author links this phenomenon to the high cost of raising children in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's economic pressure with these ripple effects. It impacts, everything from family planning to women's careers.
It really makes you wonder how these economic pressures coupled with cultural norms really shape societal values, individual choices. I mean, it's a stark contrast to the family-centric culture you often see in Vietnam, right?
Exactly. It's comparing these different cultural perspectives and seeing how societal structures, economic realities influence family dynamics.
Yes, absolutely. And the author also delves into the world of Japanese literature. And they kind of draw this contrast between what they call pure literature and popular fiction.
Okay.
And they suggest that pure literature really prioritizes artistic expression, whereas popular fiction aims to entertain.
Well, that's a distinction that you see across cultures, really.
Yeah.
I mean, literature can serve so many purposes, right? It can be art, it can be social commentary, and of course, a source of entertainment.
Yeah, yeah. And it makes you think, especially considering the Vietnamese diaspora. Like, does the author mention
I was just going to ask that,
Yeah. Any specific works or authors that kind of resonate with that experience, the Vietnamese experience in Japan?
They do.
Yeah.
In fact, they highlight the works of mentioned specific authors or works, focusing on themes relevant to the Vietnamese diaspora and the cultural exchange between Vietnam and Japan. This could include works by Japanese authors exploring themes of displacement, belonging, or cultural identity, or works by Vietnamese authors writing about their experiences in Japan.
That's fascinating. It really suggests that literature can act as this kind of bridge between cultures, right?
Yeah.
Providing insight into these shared human experiences.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now let's move to a different cultural observation. The author notes that rain in Japan holds this really unique significance. It's seen as a time for contemplation, introspection.
It's a beautiful perspective.
Yeah.
And so different from how many other cultures view rain, right? I mean, it suggests this deeper connection to nature.
Yeah.
This mindfulness of the changing seasons, this contemplative approach to life.
Yeah.
It's woven into the fabric of Japanese culture.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. The author seems drawn to these kind of subtle cultural nuances, the things that reveal a deeper understanding of a society's values and worldview.
I think that's a keen observation. It speaks to the author's sensitivity to their surroundings and their ability to draw these insightful comparisons between cultures. I think there's a yearning there to understand their new home on this deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now let's move from those kind of broader cultural observations to some of the personal anecdotes, which really bring these reflections to life. And there's one story in particular that I found really moving about an unexpected musical performance for prisoners of war in Vietnam. So the author and some fellow musicians were tasked with playing for these prisoners, and it's an experience just filled with apprehension and fear.
Oh, yeah. You have to imagine the context here. I mean, the emotional weight of performing for those who were once considered the enemy, especially in that politically charged post-war environment.
It's a situation fraught with danger and uncertainty.
Absolutely.
So they started with some Cuban and Eastern European music. It's almost like their supervisor was trying to keep things safe.
Unfamiliar.
Yeah, unfamiliar. But then they decide to take a risk and they sneak in some familiar Vietnamese love songs.
Wow.
It was a bold move, a subtle act of defiance, but also just this attempt to connect on a human level.
On a human level. Yeah.
And the response from the prisoners was astonishing. It's like the music transcended this political divide and momentarily created this space of shared humanity. It's really powerful.
It is. It's a testament to that, to the unifying power of music.
Yeah.
Its ability to break down barriers and evoke those shared emotions, even in the most
divisive of circumstances.
Divisive of circumstances, absolutely.
And it really makes you think, like, could this act of sharing familiar music, could it be interpreted as a subtle form of resistance?
It's a really interesting interpretation.
Yeah.
And it suggests that even seemingly innocuous actions
can
carry these deeper meanings and serve as acts of defiance
Yes.
in these repressive environments.
Yeah, it's like they found this little crack
Yes.
to express themselves
Yeah.
and their culture
Yeah.
in a way that wasn't overtly political, but still had this profound impact.
I think so.
And this theme of subtle resistance, I think, also emerges in the author's account of their father's purchase of a Honda Cub before 1975.
Okay.
So tell me about this Honda Cub anecdote.
It's seemingly lighthearted, but I think it reveals a lot about social dynamics in pre-war Vietnam.
Yeah.
Owning a Honda Cub back then.
Yeah.
It was more than just owning a motorbike.
Yeah,
it was a status symbol,
yeah.
a marker of aspiration success.
Right. And the author recounts people, stopping to admire the bike and their father kind of struggling to change gears smoothly, which is just this humorous detail. But it reveals so much about the novelty and the prestige associated with this possession.
Absolutely. It wasn't just transportation. It was about social standing, right?
Right.
And the image that it projected.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how material possessions can become imbued with cultural significance and reflect a society's values, aspirations.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a stark contrast to, the austerity and the conformity that characterized life under the new regime.
Absolutely. It's almost like the Honda Cub becomes this symbol of a bygone era.
Yes.
A reminder of individual aspirations and a less restrictive
peaceful environment. It's like looking through a window into a lost world. And on that note of personal stories, there's another anecdote about a chance meeting with a Cuban refugee in Key West, Florida.
Oh, wow.
And it seems like the author felt this immediate kinship with this stranger, recognizing a shared experience of fleeing a communist regime.
Well, it speaks to that universal nature of displacement, right?
Right.
And the shared experiences of refugees.
Yeah, regardless of where they're from.
Regardless of their geographical origins.
They both understood the heartache of leaving their homelands behind and the resilience required to rebuild their lives in this new country.
Absolutely.
Facing an uncertain future, but carrying the weight of their past.
It's a reminder that the Vietnamese diaspora is part of this much larger global narrative of displacement and migration.
Yes, absolutely.
With echoes in countless communities worldwide.
It's a human story, ultimately.
Yes, it is.
It's a human story. And it's incredible how those individual stories can connect to like these broader historical currents and these shared human experiences. And one thing that really struck me was the author's observations about smell.
Oh,
they recount a conversation with a sommelier who emphasized the importance of aroma in appreciating wine. And the sommelier was saying that the aroma of a good wine can actually transport you to the very vineyards where those grapes were grown, right? And triggering all these memories and associations even before you take that first sip.
It's an often overlooked aspect of sensory experience.
Right.
And I love how the author connects this to their own experiences and how scent can trigger these vivid, long-lasting memories.
Yeah, it's that Proust effect. Like a certain smell can just like unlock this flood of emotions and experiences from years past.
Like a time machine.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then kind of going from this realm of scent and memory, the author shifts to a much, much darker experience and recounts their time in a re-education camp after the war.
Right. This is a particularly harrowing section of the material, and it offers a glimpse into the harsh realities of post-war Vietnam.
Yeah.
Where those deemed enemies of the state were subjected to forced labor and indoctrination, psychological manipulation.
Yeah.
It was a brutal system.
Yeah. And they described the constant hunger.
Yeah.
The grueling work, just the psychological toll of being confined and controlled. But amidst these hardships, they actually encounter a group of former South Vietnamese soldiers.
Oh, wow.
Who were also imprisoned in the camp. And it's interesting how, despite their differing backgrounds and the divisive political climate, they kind of find ways to connect and support each other.
Well, it speaks to that human need for a connection, right?
Right, even in those most challenging of circumstances.
Even in the most challenging of circumstances.
And there's this really moving moment where the author's group is allowed to perform music for the prisoners.
Yeah.
And they play this popular French song, Après toi.
Okay.
And the reaction is just unforgettable.
I bet.
It's like the music transported everyone, prisoners and performers alike, back to this time before the war.
Yeah.
To this kind of shared cultural space where their differences seem to fade.
Powerful.
It's really powerful. It's reminiscent of that earlier story about the musical performance.
Yeah.
For the prisoners of war.
Yeah. It seems like music has this ability to bridge divides.
Yeah.
You know, and create those moments of shared humanity.
Yes, absolutely. And from this profound experience, the author shifts gears completely and tells this anecdote about visiting a friend in Japan who lived in a supposedly haunted apartment.
Ah, the ghost stories.
Right.
I love this part.
Yeah, it's like it reveals this whole other facet of the author's curiosity.
Yeah.
You know, this fascination with the unexplained, with the supernatural.
And you wouldn't necessarily expect that.
Right, in this context.
It's very kind of modern, technologically advanced Japan.
Right, but it's there. So tell me about these spooky incidents. What was going on in this apartment?
Well, the friend had experienced some unsettling incidents.
Yeah.
You know, doors slamming, objects moving, unexplained noises.
Okay. So classic haunting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic haunting stuff.
And it turns out that this wasn't an isolated incident. Like the author shares other ghost stories.
Oh, really?
From the Vietnamese community in Japan.
Okay.
And it kind of adds this eerie layer to the narrative.
It's intriguing how the author juxtaposes these ghost stories.
Yeah.
With their observations about modern Japan.
Yeah.
It's almost like
even in a society that's steeped in logic and reason.
Right.
There's still this place for the supernatural, these phenomena that defy explanation.
I think it speaks to a deeper human need to grapple with the unknown, right?
Yeah. Right. To find meaning in the face of uncertainty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these stories also kind of highlight the persistence of folklore and oral traditions, even as technology reshapes our world.
It's a reminder that cultural beliefs and traditions often persist.
Yeah.
They adapt and evolve
right
alongside these technological advancements.
It's like they find a way to coexist.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And speaking of connecting with the past, the author shares their early experiences with photography in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And they fondly recall this studio called Photo Uyen in Da Nang.
Okay.
And they had these beautiful portraits of young women displayed outside.
Mm.
And photography clearly holds a special significance for the author. It seems to represent this tangible connection to the past.
Yeah. And a way of capturing those fleeting moments and preserving memories. And it's also interesting how they associate specific cameras with particular periods in their life.
Oh.
You know, they talk about their first camera purchase in Japan, a Pentax Spotmatic, which was really popular among war photographers in Vietnam.
Wow.
It's almost as if the camera itself carries this historical weight, connecting them to their past in this very tangible way.
Yeah. It's fascinating how objects can become imbued with that kind of personal and historical significance.
Yeah, absolutely. And the author seems to really appreciate the simplicity of those older film cameras, kind of contrasting them with the complexity of modern digital technology.
Well, it makes you wonder if there's a certain nostalgia for that analog era.
Yeah, for that tactile experience. Yeah. You know, it's about the essence of that moment captured on film, unfiltered by the endless editing options.
Of
the digital age.
Yeah, it's a different
way of
seeing.
Yeah. And the author's love of photography also ties into their reflections on on how cities evolve over time.
Okay.
They observe that Da Nang, their hometown, has transformed, becoming larger, more
like the lines
developed.
intend to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's this hint of nostalgia
Yeah.
for the city's past, for this more spacious, laid-back atmosphere of their youth.
That feeling of nostalgia for a bygone era,
Yeah.
I think that's a universal sentiment, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It's about recognizing the inevitability of change,
Yeah.
but also acknowledging the
Yeah.
emotional connection we have to places and times.
Yeah. And they actually quote another writer who said that, old photos of a city can seem ugly to some, but beautiful to others, depending on their personal connection to that place. But
beautiful. It's a beautiful way of expressing that subjectivity of perception, how our experiences really shape the way we view the world around us.
Yeah. Our memories become intertwined with the physical landscape,
creating that unique and personal sense of place.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about a story about a student named Toon who struggled to find his place in post-war Vietnam. And this story kind of offers a different perspective on the challenges faced by those adapting to these new social and economic realities.
Right. So Toon's story highlights the difficulties faced by those whose pre-war lifestyles were really disrupted by the communist takeover.
And he had to drop out of school
Right.
to support his family, taking on various jobs in Saigon just to make ends meet.
Right.
And it's such a stark contrast to the author's own experience as a student navigating those ideological pressures.
Right. Of the new regime.
So Toon really represents those who were forced to adapt to this drastically altered economic landscape, often without those support systems or opportunities available to others.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that he ultimately found his niche not in a traditional profession, but by running a bicycle repair shop near a train station.
Right. So it speaks to his resilience, his resourcefulness, right?
Right.
In carving out this new life, finding success in this unexpected place.
Yeah. His story is a reminder that success can take many forms, right?
It can.
And that sometimes it's found by embracing practicality and adapting to the needs of your community.
Right.
Yeah. It also highlights the importance of agency and self-reliance.
Absolutely.
In rebuilding one's life, especially amidst challenging circumstances.
Absolutely. I think Tun's story is a testament
to that human spirit's ability to find creative solutions and carve out a path to success, even when faced with these unexpected obstacles.
And years later, he and his family were able to immigrate to the United States through the Humanitarian Operation Program.
Oh, wow.
And the author reconnects with him in Boston, finding him successful and content in his new life.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really heartwarming to see that.
Yeah.
And it also kind of speaks to the importance of that program in providing opportunities for resettlement and a fresh start for Vietnamese refugees.
Absolutely. It was a lifeline for so many.
Yeah. And this reunion, I think, underscores the importance of human connection, especially within the diaspora.
Yeah.
It's like even across continents and decades,
right,
these bonds of friendship and shared experience can endure.
They can.
Yeah.
They really can.
And then the author kind of jumps to this much more contemporary event, the marriage of Mako Komuro, a member of the Japanese imperial family, to a commoner, Hikomuro, and this caused quite a stir.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, in Japan, with some criticizing Komuro's family background and financial situation.
Right. So this event really provides a fascinating window into the complexities of tradition and modernity in Japanese society.
Absolutely.
Mako's decision to renounce her royal status, to marry for love.
Yeah, it really sparked a national debate, right?
It did. It sparked a national debate about individual choice versus societal expectations and really the evolving role of the imperial family.
Yeah, in modern
Japan. And it's a reminder that even in societies with these really deep-rooted traditions, there's this growing emphasis on individual freedom
Right.
and the right to choose one's own path.
Yeah. Regardless of those societal pressures.
Moko's decision really challenged
Yeah.
those traditional norms.
Yeah.
And it highlighted the tension
Yeah.
between personal happiness and societal expectations.
And it kind of resonates.
It does.
Yeah, with a lot of the stories we've been talking about, you know, those who are navigating these cultural differences, these societal pressures.
Especially within the Vietnamese diaspora.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so speaking of cultural exploration, the author kind of dives into the world of Japanese cuisine.
Okay.
And they focus on this concept of washoku, which encompasses traditional Japanese food culture.
Right. So washoku goes beyond just listing dishes, right?
Right.
It's a philosophy that emphasizes the harmony
Yeah.
of flavors, seasonality, and a deep respect for ingredients.
It's almost like an art form, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's about appreciating the beauty of simplicity and the subtle nuances of taste and texture.
I mean, they describe their first experience with a formal washoku meal as a revelation.
I bet.
They were struck by the meticulous presentation, the balance of flavors, just the sense of artistry in each dish.
Right.
It really reflects a cultural...
It does.
Yeah.
It reflects a cultural appreciation for aesthetics, balance, mindfulness qualities that are often reflected in other aspects of Japanese culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
From art and design to social interactions.
Right. But they also point out that pure washoku is becoming increasingly rare.
I can imagine.
You know, a lot of dishes have been influenced by Western cuisine, creating this kind of fusion of traditional and modern culinary approaches.
Yeah, it's a reflection of globalization and cultural exchange.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, how does washoku...
How does it reflect... Japanese cultural values? You know, they mentioned seasonality. Like how does that principle manifest in Japanese cuisine?
Well, seasonality is paramount in washoku. It's about using fresh, locally sourced ingredients that are at their peak of flavor and nutritional value during a specific season.
Okay.
So it reflects this deep connection to the natural world and a desire to live in harmony.
It's not just about enjoying delicious food. It's about connecting with nature's cycles.
Exactly.
And appreciating those subtle changes in flavors throughout the year. It's fascinating.
It's a holistic approach to food that emphasizes the interconnectedness of our well-being with the natural world.
And the author seems particularly fond of udon, which is a type of thick wheat flour noodle.
That's a staple.
Oh, it's so good.
In Japanese cuisine.
Yeah, udon is incredibly versatile.
Yeah.
And I think it reflects the adaptability and ingenuity of Japanese cuisine.
Yeah.
It can be enjoyed in so many ways, you know, and those simple broth-based soups, stir fries, cold noodle salads.
Oh, wow.
Even deep fried.
It's delicious.
It is.
And then they also they recount this kind of humorous attempt to recreate Japanese miso soup at home, struggling to capture.
Oh, I've been there.
that authentic flavor.
Right. And this anecdote, I think, speaks to those intangible aspects of culinary traditions, right? You know, the knowledge and intuition passed down through generations.
That's like sometimes a recipe alone isn't enough.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's about understanding those nuances of ingredients, the subtleties of technique, and the cultural context that shapes a dish.
It highlights the importance of experiencing a culture's cuisine firsthand, not just like replicating it from a cookbook.
It's about immersing yourself in the cultural context.
Yeah.
Understanding the history, the traditions, the social significance.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of traditions and rituals, they talk about toshikoshi soba.
Toshikoshi soba.
I believe is a traditional New Year's Eve noodle dish in Japan. And this isn't just a meal.
It's not just a meal.
It's a ritual imbued with symbolism, right?
So tell me, what's the symbolism behind?
Yeah, so the long noodles, they symbolize a wish for a long life.
Okay.
And the act of eating them on New Year's Eve represents letting go of the the past year's troubles
Oh.
and welcoming a fresh start.
That's beautiful.
It-
It's
yeah.
a beautiful example of how food can be
Yeah.
so intertwined with
Sure.
cultural
Yeah.
beliefs and rituals.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also mention yakitori,
Yakitori.
which are grilled chicken skewers that are a popular
Oh, yeah, they're so good.
street food in Japan.
Yeah, quintessential Japanese
Yeah.
comfort food.
And they even share,
Do they really?
yeah, they share their own
Oh, wow.
yakitori recipe, which I thought was really cool. It's like this testament to their willingness to embrace
Yes.
new culinary experiences and experiment with different flavors.
Well, and it's a reminder that food can
Yeah.
be this bridge between cultures.
Yeah.
You know, a way to connect with different
Exact-
traditions.
Yeah.
And expand our culinary horizons.
And speaking of cultural celebrations, they described their experience with the Mid-Autumn Festival, or the Moon Festival,
Okay.
as celebrated by the Vietnamese community in Japan.
Right. The Mid-Autumn Festival is significant
Yeah.
in East
Yeah.
and Southeast Asian cultures. It's a time for family reunions,
Yes.
moon gazing,
Moon cake.
and indulging in those delicious moon cakes.
Yes. And they fondly recall a really vibrant Mid-Autumn Festival celebration in Japan with colorful lanterns, traditional music, children dressed in festive attire.
It's a beautiful example
Yeah.
of how cultural traditions
Yeah.
are preserved
Yeah.
and adapted,
Yeah.
even in diaspora.
Yeah. These celebrations provide a sense of continuity, right?
They do.
Like connecting individuals to their heritage and
Yeah.
fostering that sense of community.
It's like carrying a piece of
Yeah.
home with them,
Yeah.
even as they're building new lives in a different country.
And they even share lyrics of traditional Mid-Autumn Festival songs, kind of highlighting these themes of joy and family and
Yeah.
and the luminous beauty of the full moon.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And then from this warmth and joy of the Mid-Autumn Festival, the author shifts to a more somber topic, which is aging and senior care in Japan.
Right. And that's a very
It
big
did.
pertinent topic given Japan's aging population.
Yeah.
Japan has one of the highest life
Yeah.
expectancies
Yeah.
globally,
Right.
which has led to these unique
Yeah.
social and cultural adaptations.
Yeah, absolutely. And they discuss respect for the Aged Day,
Okay.
which is a national holiday honoring the contributions
Oh, wow.
of senior citizens.
Yeah.
And this holiday, I think, reflects the deep-rooted respect for elders
Yeah.
that's so ingrained in Japanese culture.
It's a beautiful tradition.
Yeah.
It really recognizes
Yeah.
the wisdom and experience of older generations
Yeah.
and emphasizes the importance of those intergenerational
Connections.
connect. And it's interesting because while respect for the Aged Day is a relatively new holiday, it kind of formalizes this long-held cultural value.
Right.
So it's a testament to how societies adapt to these demographic shifts
Yeah.
while still honoring those traditional values.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between honoring tradition
Yeah,
and adapting to the needs
Yeah.
of a changing society.
absolutely. But they also touch upon the challenges
Right.
of an aging population.
Yeah.
You know, the increasing demand for senior care services
Yeah.
and the need for societal structures that really support and value their elderly citizens.
These are crucial issues that
Yeah.
societies worldwide are grappling with
Yeah.
as life expectancy
Continues to rise.
continues to rise.
Yeah. And finding solutions, I think, requires a combination of innovative approaches,
Right.
you know, to elder care, social support systems, and this cultural shift that really values
Yeah.
the contributions and wisdom of older generations.
It's a multifaceted challenge that requires a multifaceted
Yeah.
approach.
Okay, so now let's transition to a lighter topic.
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Okay.
And the author shares this really heartwarming story
okay.
about how they received a sweater and a cake
Well,
from their wife on Valentine's Day.
oh, sweet.
And it's this gesture that eventually led to their marriage.
Oh, wow. Well, that's lovely.
It's really sweet, and it kind of highlights how we attach personal significance to certain holidays, and how cultural traditions can be adapted and reinterpreted.
Yeah.
Within our own relationships. It's interesting how Valentine's Day is celebrated differently in various cultures. Like in Japan, it's traditionally women who give chocolates
to men.
It is a fascinating cultural difference.
And they even include this kind of humorous anecdote about asking a virtual assistant about Valentine's Day traditions,
right,
and just receiving this outdated and confusing information.
All right. It's a reminder that while technology offers access to vast amounts of information, it's not always accurate,
right,
or culturally sensitive.
Yeah, especially when it comes
to evolving social customs.
Those evolving social customs,
And from this kind of lighthearted exploration of Valentine's Day, the author shifts gears again and shares this really heartfelt tribute to their mother, recounting memories of her strength and resilience and unwavering love.
This tribute is just a
beautiful,
poignant reminder of the profound impact that parents have on our lives. Shaping our values, influencing who we become.
And they describe her, her journey as a refugee fleeing Vietnam twice. First in 1954, and then again in 1982.
Goodness.
She faced unimaginable hardship and uncertainty, but, never wavered in her determination to create a better life for her children.
It's a testament to the strength and sacrifices of mothers, especially those who endure these extraordinary challenges to protect and provide for their families.
And then the author also shares the painful story of their father's imprisonment in a re-education camp after the war.
Right. This account offers a stark reminder of the human cost of war and political persecution.
Yeah, it's a story of resilience, but also of loss and the enduring trauma that these experiences can inflict on individuals and families.
Absolutely.
And they recount the emotional turmoil of visiting your father in the camp, witnessing his physical and emotional deterioration, and then also grappling with the difficult decision to leave their father behind.
Wow.
When they fled Vietnam.
It's a heartbreaking choice.
It is.
That so many refugees are forced to make, torn between the need to seek safety for themselves and their families and the anguish of leaving loved ones behind. It speaks to those impossible choices and the lasting consequences of political upheaval.
And the author's reflection on this experience is raw and honest, revealing the complexities of family relationships amidst trauma and displacement. But it's also a reminder that even in the face of hardship, those bonds of family can endure.
I think that reflection also speaks to the enduring power of memory, right? Yeah. And how the past continues to shape the present, even as we build new lives and navigate new experiences.
And they also include this really poignant letter written to their sister who tragically passed away.
Oh, goodness.
And the letter is just this raw expression of grief and loss.
Yeah.
And it really captures those complex emotions that accompany the death of a loved one. It's a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing those we love.
Yeah.
And they reflect on their sister's struggles, her attempts to escape Vietnam and her ultimate fate.
It underscores those risks and sacrifices that so many refugees faced in their pursuit of freedom.
It's a testament to their courage, their determination, but also a stark reminder of the human cost of political oppression and the often devastating consequences of seeking a better life.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And by including this personal letter, it just adds this this layer of emotional depth to their exploration of the Vietnamese refugee experience.
Yeah.
You know, it humanizes those statistics.
It does.
Yeah, and it reveals those personal stories of loss, sacrifice, and resilience.
It's a reminder that history is not just a collection of facts and dates, but it's about the lived experiences of individuals who navigated these extraordinary challenges.
Yeah.
And whose stories deserve to be heard and remembered.
Absolutely. Okay, so now let's shift our focus to the experiences of Vietnamese refugees who settled in Australia. And this section kind of offers these valuable insights into the challenges and triumphs of resettlement, the process of adapting to a new culture, the ways in which refugees contribute to their adopted countries. And the author recounts their family's arrival in Australia, highlighting those initial challenges.
Right.
You know, adjusting to a new language and culture.
Right. And those initial challenges are often overlooked, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine navigating everyday tasks.
Yeah.
Communicating effectively.
Yeah.
Building relationships in a completely new environment.
Yeah. It requires so much resilience, adaptability, and a willingness to embrace the unknown.
It does.
And they describe this overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude that they felt upon reaching safety in Australia and the warm welcome they received from the Australian people.
It speaks to the generosity and compassion of countries
that open their doors.
That open their doors to refugees, offering them that chance at a fresh start, and the opportunity to rebuild their lives.
And they detail their experiences in a refugee camp in Wakel near Brisbane, and describing the support provided by the Australian government and those efforts to really help refugees integrate into Australian society.
And I think this account provides valuable insights.
It does.
Into the complexities of refugee resettlement and the importance of providing these comprehensive support systems.
Yeah.
You know, including language training, employment assistance, social services to ease that transition and foster a sense of belonging.
And the author expresses this deep appreciation for Australia, acknowledging the opportunities and the freedom their adopted country has provided.
Right, and that sentiment is echoed by so many refugees who find safety and opportunity in their adopted countries. Yeah. It's a reminder of the transformative power of welcoming refugees and allowing them to contribute to their new communities. Yeah. And enrich the cultural fabric of society.
And they describe various landmarks and experiences that have kind of shaped their impression of Australia. Okay. You know, from the iconic Sydney Opera House to the vast and awe-inspiring outback.
Those descriptions really capture the beauty and diversity of Australia, showcasing its natural wonders and vibrant cultural tapestry.
And they even share this funny anecdote about wanting to adopt a turtle they encountered, which I love that detail. It's like this reminder that even amidst the challenges of resettlement, there's always room for humor and spontaneity.
Yes.
And then kind of going from this lighthearted moment, the author shifts to a more somber topic, which is Anzac Day.
Right.
A national day of remembrance in Australia and New Zealand.
Anzac Day holds profound significance.
It does.
In Australia.
And they describe attending Anzac Day ceremonies and kind of highlighting those moving tributes, the somber atmosphere, the sense of national unity.
It's a testament to the enduring legacy of those who served their country and the power of collective remembrance to unite a nation.
And they actually compare Anzac Day commemorations in Australia with war memorials in Vietnam, noting that Australia's focus on remembrance and honoring the fallen kind of contrasts with Vietnam's emphasis on victory and the heroism of the communist forces.
So this observation highlights those different ways that cultures approach remembering war.
Yes.
And the diverse narratives that can exist within a single historical event.
It's a reminder that history is often interpreted through multiple lenses, like shaped by political ideologies and cultural values.
It reminds us that there are multiple truths and interpretations of the past. Yeah. Each shaped by
individual experiences, cultural influences, and the political climate in which history is written and remembered.
Written and remembered.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's shift our focus to a more personal anecdote about a road trip the author takes from San Francisco to Sacramento. And this journey kind of seems to symbolize their ongoing exploration of identity, their search for meaning and belonging. It's a common theme, I think, in a lot of immigrant narratives, right? That journey is a metaphor.
Yeah, the journey is a metaphor for personal growth, self-discovery, and that search for a sense of place in a new world.
And during this road trip, they encounter a Vietnamese American man who fought for the South Vietnamese army during the war.
Right.
And this man expresses his disillusionment with the communist regime and his hope for a future where Vietnam can be free and democratic.
So this encounter, I think, is significant.
It is.
Because it presents a different perspective on the Vietnam War and its aftermath.
And the author, who initially held this more sympathetic view of the communist regime, is clearly shaken by this man's perspective. It's a pivotal moment, I think, in their journey, forcing them to re-examine their own assumptions and grapple with these uncomfortable realities of a conflict that continues to shape their life.
It's a testament to the author's intellectual honesty and their willingness to engage with perspectives that challenge their own beliefs.
And they come to understand that history is not monolithic. It's a tapestry of experiences and perspectives and interpretations.
It's so important to seek out those diverse viewpoints, especially when grappling with these complex historical events.
Yeah. And this encounter in Sacramento, I think, is a turning point for the author, prompting them to really grapple with the complexities of their own identity and the multifaceted legacy of the Vietnam War.
It's a reminder that those personal journeys of self-discovery are often intertwined with these broader historical narratives. You know, the author's own experiences as a refugee are inseparable from those political events that shaped their life and those diverse perspectives within the Vietnamese diaspora.
Okay, so continuing on their road trip, the author visits a friend in Sacramento who shares their family's harrowing experiences after the war. And this story sheds light on the devastating impact of the communist regime on those deemed enemies of the state.
So this firsthand account really offers a glimpse into the human cost of political oppression and that lasting trauma that it can inflict.
The friend recounts their family being targeted, their father imprisoned, their lives upended.
Wow.
And the author also shares this chilling anecdote about a woman pleading with a traditional healer for a potion to help her commit suicide.
Wow. This incident really speaks to the depths of despair and hopelessness experienced by many under the communist regime, where even the most basic human rights and freedoms were denied.
Yeah. The friend's story is a testament to human resilience, but it also serves as this powerful indictment of totalitarian regimes and the devastating impact they have on individual lives.
It's a reminder that behind those political ideologies and historical narratives are real people whose lives are profoundly impacted by the decisions of those in power.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the author shifts to this deeply personal reflection, sharing a letter they wrote to their late mother. And this letter is just this heartfelt expression of love and gratitude and regret. It captures those complexities of family relationships, the enduring impact of our parents and the lingering pain of loss.
And it really resonates with those immigrant experiences. You know, the sacrifices made, the challenges overcome, and that unwavering love that binds families together, even across continents and through hardship.
And they express regret for not fulfilling all of their mother's wishes, especially her desire to return to Vietnam.
Right, that longing for home, for...
It's a sentiment that I think so many immigrants experience, right?
They do.
Torn between their love for their homeland and the realities of their new lives.
it highlights those emotional complexities of displacement and that longing for a home that may no longer exist in the same way.
And then the author shares this really heartbreaking account of their sister's experiences after the war.
Right.
Her attempts to escape Vietnam and her eventual death.
Right. And this story serves as a stark reminder
It does.
of the risks and dangers that many refugees faced in those desperate attempts to seek freedom.
Yeah, it's a reminder of the human cost of political oppression and the desperate measures that people are forced to take when their basic rights and freedoms are denied.
And by including these personal stories, it adds such a layer of emotional depth.
It does.
To the author's exploration of the Vietnamese refugee experience.
Yeah, it's a reminder that history is not just a collection of facts and dates, but a tapestry of individual stories, each filled with loss and hope and resilience.
And that enduring power of family bonds.
And the author's willingness to share these very intimate stories.
Incredible.
It personalizes that Vietnamese refugee experience.
It makes it relatable to those who may not have
lived through
such events.
And it's about connecting with those shared human emotions of love and loss and resilience that transcend
cultural and cultural
boundaries and historical boundaries. Okay, so now let's shift gears and explore the author's nostalgic reflections on their childhood in Vietnam, specifically their experiences with the traditional Vietnamese garment, the áo dai.
The áo dai, that holds such a special place in Vietnamese culture, you know.
Yeah. It's a symbol of elegance, femininity, national pride.
And it's interesting how the authors, their personal memories are so intertwined with this iconic garment.
Yeah. And they remember wearing a simple áo dai with safety pins as a young child, and it's almost like a symbol of innocence and simplicity of those
early years.
And they talk about their mother's influence.
You
know, she instilled in them this love for this traditional garment. You know, she herself grew up wearing silk áo dai in Hanoi,
so it highlights the role of family in transmitting those cultural traditions and shaping our understanding of our heritage.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the author grew older, the áo dai kind of took on these new meanings, representing their transition to womanhood, their university years, their social life in Saigon. And they describe the different styles they wore, each associated with specific memories and experiences.
It's fascinating how clothing can become imbued with that personal and cultural significance.
Yeah, and they even recount wearing a brown áo dai to a gathering of Vietnamese students in Japan. And it kind of symbolized their shared heritage, their connection to their homeland.
It speaks to the enduring power of those cultural symbols, particularly for those living in diaspora.
Yeah.
You know, clothing can be such a powerful way to connect with one's roots.
Yes.
Express cultural pride and find a sense of belonging in that new environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And this section really highlights the importance of preserving cultural traditions and the role of personal memories in shaping our understanding of who we are.
It's a reminder that even as we embrace new experiences and adapt to new environments, that our cultural heritage remains an integral part of who we are, you know, shaping our values, influencing our perspectives, and providing that sense of
continuity and belonging.
Continuity and belonging, exactly.
This deep dive has taken us on quite a journey.
It has.
We've explored the complexities of the Vietnamese refugee experience, from that harrowing escape from Vietnam to the challenges of resettlement, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring power of culture and memory and hope.
And I think we've delved into these personal stories, these cultural observations, those historical reflections, and insightful commentary on a range of topics from Japanese society and cuisine to the global impact of the Vietnam War, the unifying power of sports.
What struck you?
So much.
Yeah.
So much. What struck you most about
what resonated with you?
these stories?
Yeah.
I think for me these stories offer a glimpse into the human experience.
Yeah.
You know, they remind us of our shared capacity for resilience and adaptation and that pursuit of a better future.
Absolutely.
And they encourage us to embrace diverse perspectives, challenge assumptions, and engage in those
in those meaningful conversations
about the world around us.
Yeah. And this deep dive is just the beginning.
It is.
There are countless stories yet to be discovered, voices waiting to be heard, perspectives that can enrich our understanding of the world. So what will you discover next?